Hey everybody, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com, doing our weekly initial analysis of the Steelers game. Obviously a huge win Thursday Night Football, 40-17 over the Tennessee Titans, as the Steelers go to 8-2 on the year. First team in the AFC to reach 8 wins. Obviously the Sunday slate could change things, but Steelers keep on rolling, and I'll admit it, as I often am whenever I predict these games, I was wrong. I was really nervous about this game. I picked the Titans to win. I thought it was going to be a close game, and for a large chunk of this one, it certainly was. We'll get into that a little bit throughout this video. But Pittsburgh, they're at home. They're primetime football. Definitely, that's kind of where they're at their best. And they responded really well on a short week with I still think, a very talented and very tough Tennessee Titans team. And the Steelers, I think, inarguably played their most complete game of the year. Now, they played some good games in the past. Kansas City was a good game. They've Baltimore, Minnesota. They had some kind of comfortable wins there. But I thought this was by far their most complete game. Wasn't a perfect game. We'll talk about some of the issues. Tennessee hurt themselves. Again, we'll get into that. But I think offense, defense, special teams, it was the Steelers' most complete game. Obviously, you saw the Steelers come out in no huddle, which we've been talking about for a while now. Yes, I think Dave posted some of the numbers. The no huddle numbers in the aggregate have been similar to seasons past, but again, you want to make sure you're not missing some context there. Games where the Steelers have been behind, playing catch up, probably influenced that some. I'd be curious to know about the kind of, if you took out the non-catch-up numbers, you think of the Jacksonville game, things like that, where they went no huddle for long stretches of the game just to try to get back into a game circumstance, is that skewing the number compared to seasons past? Obviously, we don't have that data, but certainly it felt like the Steelers had been using less no huddle. Now, there's some reasonable explanations for that. I think being on the road as often as they were, 6 of the first 9 games, I want to say, were on the road. I can't remember the exact number, but they were on the road a lot the first half of the season. That's certainly going to play a factor. It's a lot tougher to run no huddle on the road when you're on a silent count, when you're dealing with crowd noise and things like that. So you assume when they would come back at home, for when the crowd's on their side in a comfortable environment, they could run no huddle more effectively. And you saw them come out the first drive of the game and march down the field with the 41-yard touchdown to Antonio Brown. So an efficient drive where Ben kind of got to be in control. Now, was Ben calling every single play on his own? He certainly had some checks, and he did a great job tonight, I think, at getting the Steelers into correct plays. But a lot of times those first 10 to 15 plays are going to be scripted, so I assume that those were plays that Haley and Ben were able to come up with a game plan beforehand, so they were generally scripted plays where Ben had freedom to, check out of something based on whatever he saw. But I don't think it's Ben doing everything on that first drive, because again, that stuff's usually going to be scripted. It's just a tempo, not letting the defense substitute, not letting them react, forcing the defense to get in their play call quicker, identify what the personnel is in the formation, and what to expect. So that was obviously a huge factor, and though it wasn't used the whole game, just because it can't be used the whole game, I mean, you just can't do it. When the Steelers brought it back in the second half, again, you saw its effectiveness. So certainly something I think you're going to see again and again going forward, especially whenever you're playing at home. But the bottom line is Ben Roethlisberger was fantastic tonight. This was his best game of the season by far. That's kind of a low bar to clear, but it's been his best game in a long time. And you got to go hats off to him, because he's been rough this year. We've been pretty critical of him, myself especially included. But man, if he plays like this, I think Matthew Marksy had written about it. If he plays the way he did Thursday night against the Titans the rest of the way, this is a dangerous Steelers team. And I hadn't really got that feeling because the offense hadn't clicked so far this season. But if he plays the way he did, the way he was able to just manipulate this Titans defense, a good Titans defense, a Dick LeBeau coach Titans defense, the way he was able to take control of this group when the Steelers were generally one-dimensional, couldn't get the run game going very often, that's big. That sold Ben for sure. You saw it with the deep ball. You saw it with him extending plays, making good decisions. The hard count, even when Ben's been bad this year, his hard count's been fantastic. I swear he's gotten defenses to jump 6 to 8 times, and it happened twice tonight. So you get the big plays off of that, which is just a great thing for Ben. That's Ben's new pump fake, because that old pump fake that he had in his early half of his career, it's kind of gone away, but that's kind of now his new pump fake. Think about it like that. But yeah, he was fantastic. Guy manipulation of the free safeties, the vertical shots, extending the play, not making bad decisions. A couple of times where it looked like the Titans were jumping some routes, been able to get off that first read, go somewhere else. Even plays that didn't work out. There was one, I think it was near the red zone, around the 20-yard line, where the safety buzzed down and Ben was going to hit the slant, and he came off because he saw the safety coming down. He went to, I think it was Bell or Juju to the left side. The pass went incomplete. It was contested, but you probably avoided a pick there, and instead you take an incomplete pass. So even plays that were negative were saved from being a lot worse and potentially disastrous. And I thought Ben was just really solid with his decision making all game long. Again, in a game where they threw the ball 45 times and they only ran it 21 times, where they're playing with the lead for a good chunk of that game. So I think if you take out some of the stats at the very end, the numbers are going to be even favored heavier to the pass. So we talk about balance a lot for offense, and never been one to subscribe to the idea of balance. I mean, yeah, it sounds good, and if you can do it, that's great. But all I care about is just moving the ball and putting up points. And if that means throwing it 50 times and running it 5, or if it means running it 50 times and throwing it 5, whatever you have to do to move the ball is kind of my philosophy of it. And that's what I thought Haley did a really good job of today against the Titans, was just moving the football. Forget about running the ball. The Titans are a really good run defense. It's a Dick LeBeau defense. They're going to, their hallmark is to stop the run. So don't run into a brick wall. And Steelers didn't have a lot of success with it anyway. So throw the football, use the elongated pass game to kind of substitute the run game, and, go to work on that secondary. So the game plan was good. I thought the execution was even better. Obviously, AB is just a freak of nature, but you come to expect it. Juju's, didn't have a gaudy stat line tonight, but the third down catches have been huge. I think he's got 12 or 13 receptions on third down this year, which is just critical. Yeah, you got to find someone other than AB to step up, because on third down, defenses are just keying in on AB the whole way. So I thought Juju made some timely plays, and Bryant wasn't perfect. Some of the contested stuff he's got to come down with, had an offensive pass interference, but he recovered the fumble AB had at the end of the half, made a couple other nice catches. So not perfect, but good enough, I thought, for Martavis Bryant. Even Jesse James catching a touchdown pass, easiest one in the world, but he sold the run really well. That play fake on third and goal, and Steelers convert there. So you go 3-7 in the red zone. You play smart football, and then defensively you create your own splash plays. 4 interceptions, 5 sacks. Wow, what a job by this defense. Now, it wasn't perfect. You get the blown coverage to start the second half. Or not really blown coverage, but just sense about getting beat. It was a really good play call and design, and a great execution, throw and catch by Mariota to Rashard Matthews. But aside from that, I mean, this defense is really spectacular, and they created splash plays. And when the offense struggled in the first half, this defense was able to keep the score down and keep the Titans in check. And again, they just made those splash plays. And if you think about what Mike Tomlin said coming out of the bye, the biggest things he wanted to see from this team the second half of the year, and to take them where they want to go, one of those things was splash plays. And the defense provided that in bunches tonight. You saw the graphic on the NBC NFL Network that this is the first time the Steelers have had 5 sacks and 4 interceptions in a game since, 1984. It's the first time they've had 4 interceptions in a game, just the interceptions alone, since 1997. So you get some really impressive numbers there. Opportunistic, taking advantage of tip passes. Hilton gets the first. Robert Golden gets one. Sean Davis gets one late to kind of seal things. And then Cody Sensabaugh made a great play at the end of the half there to give the Steelers 3 extra points their way when the Titans were driving. We have either will have or have a breakdown of that play up on Steelers Depot. So you get 5 sacks. I thought, on the whole, the Steelers did a nice job of keeping Mariota in the pocket. Yes, he had the first touchdown where they brought Artie on a blitz, and Artie couldn't get home, and Mariota scrambles for a touchdown. But overall, didn't let him extend the play too often. Got a lot of pressure. Hayward continues to be a beast. Tua had a strong game. Outside linebackers a little on the quiet side, but Titans have a really good pair of tackles in Conklin and Lewan. Vince Williams, his 6th sack of the season. It's the sack leaders this year. Hayward with 7. Vince Williams was 6. Williams' 6 sacks are first in the NFL for all off-ball linebackers. So anyone that's not a defensive lineman or a 3-4 edge guy, Vince Williams is leading them all. We'll see if that stands after this Sunday. But man, that's really impressive. A physical guy. I thought he had a great game. Ryan Shazier was excellent. Just maybe a little bit quieter than people expected, but I thought his tackling was excellent, and that's kind of the big thing for him. He had a really strong game as well. It was the Titans' run game was generally non-existent. Again, a couple of blips there, but it's going to happen. Nothing too catastrophic, and the Steelers weren't able or didn't allow any sort of huge run, which was the big thing. And their tackling, I thought, was pretty strong whenever they got guys to the football. I thought they rallied to the football well. You see after every tackle, you got 4 or 5 guys in on the play, and that's going to be required against big backs like Derrick Henry and like DeMarco Murray. So I thought overall it was solid. I mean, a couple of negatives. Again, the big touchdown allowed, the 75-yard touchdown to Matthews. Since the ball got beat, again, a good scheme by Tennessee. You'd like to see that cleaned up, at least, prevent the touchdown, make the tackle. Artie Burns, certainly not perfect. Burns can be a frustrating guy. He's the guy I probably trust least on that defense week in and week out. You might get really good play from Artie Burns, and we've seen it, so I don't want to be all down on him. But you've seen some bad play from Artie Burns as well, and that kind of perked back up Thursday night. Rob Golden, again, you see the drop-off from Mitchell to Golden. I know it's not a ton of Mike Mitchell fans on here, but again, I think the drop-off between Mitchell to Golden is really obvious in coverage. As in run support, as alley fillers, they're similar guys. I like Golden coming downhill, but in coverage, it's going to be weakness for Rob Golden. But hopefully Mitchell with 10 days rest can come back next week off that ankle injury. Special teams solid. Boswell 4 for 4 tackle on a kick return, which was kind of a critical play. I think Berry averaged around 50 yards a punt. Rosie Nix did his thing. Adoree Jackson's a really good return guy. Didn't allow anything big there. AB created a little splash in the return game as well. So you have to be happy with that. A blocked field goal by T.J. Watt. Steelers were getting some serious pressure on some field goals. The first one that Suckup hit got a lot of interior pressure, and the second one they blocked. So, credit to Danny Smith's unit for those guys being ready to play and doing better than what they did last week. I've been talking about 12 minutes, probably wrap this thing up, but yeah, really complete game. Again, Steelers play like this, not a perfect game, but certainly a really strong game. They play the way they did at any other given week. They can beat anybody in the NFL, and they can certainly win a Super Bowl. So that was probably the confidence that a lot of fans wanted, a little bit of extra assurance that, put it all together, the offense goes off, the defense creates splash, special teams is consistent and solid, makes a little splash of their own. That's about as good as it gets. I mean, again, we can nitpick some of the small things, and we're going to talk about it. We have 10 days to comb over this one really closely, but just in the overall picture, generally Steeler fans are just used to the 3 to 7 point victory where you're on the edge of your seat until the clock hits 0. So it's really nice to get kind of a blowout victory where you're sitting there midway through the fourth quarter going, okay, this one's over. We can kind of just coast this one out. So that's always good when you get your backups in. Your Landry Jones, I think BJ Finney got some snaps. So it's always good to end a game on that kind of note instead of just the ones that shave 10 years off your life. And again, against a really good Titans team that was close. I mean, the Titans had their chances. You get, if Delaney Walker catches that touchdown pass in the end zone, I think it becomes a 2-point game. I forget the score at that time. And who knows what happens from there. But, Steelers took advantage of their opportunities. Titans did not. Steelers created opportunities. Titans did not. And that's kind of the story of the game. So, let me know your guys' thoughts on this game. How confident you are. I'm sure you're fairly confident at this point about this team going forward. I don't like asking this question too much. I don't bring up New England too often because, everyone else brings up New England, and I don't need to be an extra voice there. But, if you're someone that was in the camp of, can this team beat New England, you felt uneasy about it, you weren't too sure, does this game change things? Do you feel better about it now? Do you have more confidence? Or are you still kind of uneasy and you're kind of in the camp of, I'll believe it when I see it? I'm just curious to get your guys' thoughts. I don't like talking about the Pats too often. When Steelers play them in Week 15, we'll talk about it then. But I'm focused on just, the next game and what happened in the previous game. And the future stuff is all the future stuff. But let me know your quick thoughts kind of on your confidence level to beat a team like New England going forward. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.